Welcome to Let's Be Well Together podcast. We're your wellness check-in team. Join us each week or when you can. We enjoy exploring wellness concepts and reminding you to make time for wellness. This is episode 111. We hope our territorial acknowledgement improves allyship with Indigenous people within a reconciliation process. We're on the Haldeman Tract, located on the traditional territories of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We acknowledge the presence and traditional knowledge, laws, and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new week of the Let's Be Well Together podcast. It's Elise Seifert, and today I'm with John Webster. Hey, John, today I was hoping we could talk about one of the quotes that you have.
Quote from my quote list. I sent you a few to see if you were interested. Which one do you want to talk about?
Well, I would love to talk about a quote by Paulo Coelho, and the quote is, "The world is changed by examples, not by opinions."
I think I've heard this same concept so many different times. It could be attributed to a bunch of different people. This one really means something. The world is changed by examples, not by opinions. It is one of the life lessons that's become really important to me. It kind of goes with the expression, talk is cheap and actions speak louder than words too. How does it resonate with you?
I think the first thing that I think of when I look at this quote is social media. And I think about how that's a big place where a lot of people just share a lot of their opinions and how people are very quick to judge others on social media without really taking into consideration that other people are people. So that's certainly the first thing that comes into my mind. And I often think, what kind of example am I setting in my social media presence? So am I setting the example that I want to set and that I want others to follow?
I struggle with social media. Generally speaking, before the podcast, I had gone off social media because I was generally disappointed and it wasn't making me feel good. However, and we've talked about this on some of our earlier episodes, is that the right move, or is the right move to try and do social media in a more positive way, like what you're saying? I don't know.
I'm not sure, but I do know there's a lot of people out there who are sharing a lot of joy through social media. And I think that's really positive. And the best way that I can support them is by liking or following them. So I think that's a great way to change social media by example.
When I think of this quote, I think about my own life experiences.
Mm-hmm.
It says, the world is changed by examples, not by opinions. And I think about the people who've made a really big impact on me on my professional career. So people like mentors or the lawyers I looked up to and the lawyers I wanted to either impress. But usually what I realize is it's a matter of emulating. Like when I see lawyers acting in a way that I admire and they're effective, they're team builders and they make things work. Those are the people I tend to copy what they're doing. And sure, you hear a lot of stuff. Like there's all kinds of notices in the workplace and meetings where like, hey guys, let's all be a team and let's all do the right thing. But in the end, I think I was most affected by the lawyers who were ahead of me, who I saw doing what I thought was really cool.
I think that's an amazing way to recognize this quote. I think I see that as well in my school setting. I know often we talk about how our school kind of strategies come from the top. So it comes from our principals. And I think good principals have really shown by example. And I also tell my kids, my students who are kindergarten students, that the best way to tell someone what to do is to show them. So for example, we get a lot of tattling in my classroom. So maybe a student will say, they're not sitting properly, or they're talking, or they're making silly sounds, they should stop. And I tell them, well, the best way to tell them what to do is show them how to do it well. So you be a good example for them, show them how to do it well. And then the other kids are going to want to do it well too.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're coming at it from both directions. On one hand, you're saying, my boss or whoever is a principal or a vice principal or whatever. I learn more when I see them doing things the way I think it should be done or the way I admire, as opposed to them just telling you what to do. But now you're also talking about the kids. Now you're the teacher and you're trying to influence the kids and you're trying to get them to influence each other. It's really interesting.
I think it works on so many different levels. And I think a lot of people can see maybe examples in their lives that have changed them rather than being told to change.
I was talking to Sheila, just saying that we were going to maybe talk about this quote. And she reminded me of something too. So she ran a dance studio. As you know, you were there for a lot of it. Obviously, there's employees or contractors who are teaching and whatnot, but there's so much stuff in an environment like that where you need volunteers. You just can't operate a dance studio without lots of people rolling up their sleeves and helping. It didn't take too long to learn is if she said, hey, I need volunteers to do X or Y, can someone please sign up? Didn't always work. But if she just started doing it, if she said, okay, this has to be done, I'm going to start doing it, she found that people are like, how can I help? Right? So that's another context where you're leading by example and then people come and say, I want to help.
And I think people really do care a lot. I think there are a lot of people out there who just want to make the world a better place, and maybe they don't know how, but if they see someone doing it, they'll say, hey, I can do that. I can help you.
I don't know. That's why you say it reminds me of the expression, talk is cheap and action speaks louder than words. I'm not really into, people being really judgy. I'm not really into those conversations where people are like, yeah, this guy did this and this guy did that. I'm more interested in watching people do things the right way. I'll give you an example. Sometimes I hear a parent saying, do you know that little Billy boy down the street and he does this and I hate when he uses that language or people shouldn't be bullies, people shouldn't talk down. And then their kid comes along and says the same thing or really reacts negatively, like reacts in kind of a nasty way. And you're thinking, where did they learn that? Especially if there's these little expressions that a parent would make, like it's not natural for the kid's word. And you'd probably, as a kindergarten teacher, see this all the time. And you just think, you'd probably be a lot better served if you would just not act that way around your kids. Instead of telling them not to do it, why don't you not do it? I'm starting to sound a little judgy.
No, it happens. I know I say so many things in my classroom and then the kids start saying it and you just don't realize that you're making such an impact on them. Like I say things when we're tidying up the classroom, I'll say, why don't you do it together? Teamwork makes the dream work. So now there's a boy who, whenever he puts something on the shelf with someone else, he goes for a high five. He's like, teamwork makes the dream work. And then they high five.
Well, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. It's those little things that you say that you don't really realize are making an impact. They really do make an impact and people are looking at you as an example. So that's something I thought. I had some questions after I read this quote. And one of them was, what example am I setting in the world? And another question I had after this quote is, what examples do I set by my actions, but also my inaction? So maybe when I don't take an action, am I also setting an example? And what does that mean?
Well, that's a really, really important one. And there's lots of quotes right now circulating from history where people have said basically to the effect, it's not the people who act against me or my people that frustrate me the most. It's the ones who stayed silent in the face of it. So that's a really good point, that inaction makes a difference. And then another thing that Sheila mentioned too, like a different way, there's all these different ways you can actually change the world. And a lot of them are little ways. And so Sheila said the other thing that came to her mind was if she's in the gym and she sees someone she knows and they smile, hey, hi, how are you? And they smile and they chat for a second. Not only do they kind of brighten up each other's day, but they notice around them that other people smile and say hi, and it kind of changes the mood of the room. So there's these other little ways where by your actions as opposed to words, you can have a little impact.
I love that. Just those acts of kindness are always great.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so great quote. We should maybe go back to looking at some of the quotes more often and chatting about them. And this one was, the world is changed by examples and not by opinions. Guests are giving their time, expanding our minds. Today's interview is about wellness in general. Nicole Sung is a university student, and we somehow connected over a year ago, I think because we're both interested in wellness. And I can't recall whether it was through the podcast or seeing Nicole's Instagram posts, but however we connected, I'm glad we did. It's great to see someone at Nicole's age and stage taking time to think about wellness and to share her experiences to help others. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, John. Thank you for having me today.
So Nicole Sung is a fourth-year University of Waterloo student in communication studies, and she finds passion in exploring aspects of wellness to enhance others and her own life. Her unique storytelling abilities looks to balance and sparks connections with those around her. Nicole has lived in many countries, while she's been studying ever since she was 14 years old. And this helped her gain a unique perspective about the world around her. Through her Instagram wellness page, she hopes to share the same passion with others, to view and live life moment by moment. So Nicole has an Instagram page at Wellness with Nix. That's all one word, and Nix is Nics. So at Wellness with Nix. Nicole, can we start with some context? Maybe tell us a bit about what you're up to, what you're studying at university.
Sure. I'm studying at the University of Waterloo in my fourth year in Honors Arts Co-op program. I'm majoring in communication studies and minoring in English. I am currently in my second work term at the university, which is very exciting. I'm doing a social media role, which is something that directly correlates to what I am passionate about, which is amazing.
It aligns with what you're interested in. Do you have a career path yet, or are you still kind of exploring what you like?
Still exploring. I think my age currently at 22 this year, still at a young age, but I would love to learn more about where the future would bring me. I see a lot of influencers graduate from university or college and they have their career set up for them. And they continue to go down the social media path, which I'm interested to go towards. But a more traditional sense, any office job would do, or social media management, or studying a master's is a goal.
So you've got lots of options you're keeping open?
Yes.
Now, what about Wellness with Nix? How did that initiative start?
That started January of 2022 during the pandemic. I felt the strong urge to make a separate account for my private page because not a lot of people resonate with the topic of wellness and positivity.
When you say positivity, do you mean something by that?
An attitude I express, and I hope to have that optimistic outlook on everything that I do.
I actually do a presentation on my approach to wellness, and I actually have a slide and a discussion on that very point, that once I started to choose optimism in my life, which I believe is a choice, things started to feel better in my life. And so I think it's a great approach, and I wish you success with that. Now, you're on Instagram, and I gave the handle. Is that the right term? I'm like not a social media person.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, handle, so we got the handle. Apart from Instagram, are you on any other platforms?
Yes, I'm on TikTok and YouTube, and they're all at Wellness with Nix.
Perfect. That makes it easy. Now, much of what you share is personal. So, because I actually follow you, our let's.well.be.well together account follows you. It is personal. Do you have any challenges in sharing your personal life kind of in public like that?
I think challenges will always come with a sense of vulnerability and risk because you're putting yourself out there, you're putting content out there for people to hopefully resonate with. Yeah, the fear of judgment definitely creeps up sometimes, and how people would perceive and articulate your content from there.
It's not just the fear of judgment, but it's like if you're authentic, and I know you are, when you put your authentic self out there, some of the stuff can be embarrassing because you're not just sharing the ups. You're not just sharing the best life you're living. You're sharing ordinary stuff. When I do that, it is sometimes scary.
Yeah. I think it's important to highlight the balance between the highs and the lows in life, not using social media in a negative way to only highlight the positives and only highlight the highs, which sometimes is something we forget about.
With Wellness with Nix, do you actually have any goal in mind? Did you start it just to share experiences, or are you hoping to achieve something through it?
This is a very good question. I hope to be a beacon of light to others because I know what it felt like and have experienced the lows in life and being in the negative state. And so I hope to just help someone because I wasn't able to gain that sort of help when I was younger.
I wish I had known things when I was a lot younger, and I wish I had people inspiring me and kind of leading by example and letting me know it's okay, letting me know things are okay. And it sounds like that's kind of what you're doing. Like you're willing to put yourself out there and show who you are in the hopes that other people get some kind of inspiration out of it.
I think the second part to your question about where this will take me, I hope to just continue to create content from the heart, and hopefully it resonates with other people, and just gain more experiences, meet new people, and connect with like-minded individuals like how we are right now.
I wonder, because you're doing the wellness with Nix and because of some of the journey you're on and some of the lessons you've learned, do you think it has an impact on kind of your everyday life? So for example, do you feel like maybe you're a bit more resilient now than you used to be because these things are in your mind?
Yes, definitely. The strengthening and conditioning of positive thoughts will lead to positive outcomes. It's hard to live life positively sometimes, so it's good to have that reminder to keep us going.
In your intro, you mentioned that you like to live life moment to moment. And kind of a motto I'm trying to live by is live life in every breath. And it's kind of a similar thing. Do you have any sense, like when you say live life moment to moment, what are some of the things you think about in that context? How do you do that?
This was something that I'm still going through currently. I was reading the self-help book, The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. In this specific chapter, I believe it was chapter 5, where they talk about you have the choice every single day to choose whether you live life happy or you live life sad. And I think that's really important, and remembering and reminding ourselves that we have the choice to open our heart or close it, and how we choose to experience and view the world through our senses. And because moments are fleeting, people are fleeting, it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day.
I have that book sitting on my desk.
Really?
Yeah, I borrowed it from someone and I want to read it. It's kind of a cool coincidence. I see you've got lots of followers, which is interesting. So I have two questions. So first of all, do you have a sense of who those followers are, like how old they are and what they're interested in? And second, just generally, what are you finding in your experience in terms of other people your age thinking about wellness?
Right. So looking at the analytics from Instagram, a lot of the majority are individuals ages 18 to 24, which is relative to my age range. They usually come from Canada or sometimes East Asia. A majority would be like female audiences. It's still quite a relatively small following, I would say, compared to other bigger pages.
And then in terms of setting aside the podcast, just in terms of the people who you meet day to day at the university, people your age, I'm wondering, are they interested in wellness? Is that something that you hear them talking about?
I would say relatively less, a lot less people talk about wellness. Like mental health is there. They talk about the resources, but actually taking action towards wellness practices are relatively slim.
That was kind of my expectation. I think back to myself at university days, and there were so many things to think about, and life's coming up and you've got all these dreams and all these things you're going to do, and you don't really think about how to achieve a balanced life and that kind of stuff. So, and I think the more of us that are talking about it, the more chance there are that people will start thinking more about it.
Of course.
But it'd be really exciting if younger people really started getting interested in it, because, you know, you're also at a time in your life where there's a lot of creativity flowing, a lot of ingenuity. So if we could get a lot of younger people talking more about it, we might come up with a lot of really great ideas too on the topic.
This thought came to my head just now. I think that wellness is also a life skill that universities or institutions don't usually teach us. We just have to learn on our own and in our own time, or even through other social media platforms, which is how I suppose our current generation learns quickly from all these trending medias.
But I think it's a very good point, because my approach to wellness, for example, is very practical. It tries to demystify the process. And I talk about a practical way where you can think about different categories of wellness, activities that foster it, that you can actually name and do, and then finding balance between them with it. It's also an activity. It would be nice if we can start making the topic more approachable, including teaching some of these basic things, or at least making them available at universities or even earlier. So you're connecting with people who are interested in wellness. Where are you finding those connections? Who are the kind of people you're getting to talk to?
They're usually individual wellness content creators that are also similar in age, mostly in the US for some reason. A lot of them, they dive into like wellness in terms of specifically like recipes or their mental struggles, or they're trying to show us ways that they're living reality.
And do you find that you're actually getting through to people? Do you ever get feedback from people saying thanks or, that made a difference to me?
Oh yeah, I think sometimes in the comment section, people leave a comment or a like, or thank you for sharing this. This is really inspirational. Keep doing you. This reminds me to keep going.
When do you think it was that you started getting interested in this topic?
It started from, I would say, a really painful experience from middle school, high school when I was in Malaysia. I experienced bullying at that time, dark moments. It was my mom who influenced me actually to think more on the positive, be okay to say things out loud, even if it's scary, and vocalize your needs so that other people can help you. Through that, she has also been on her wellness journey. I think spiritually, it has helped me grow as a person and understand more about myself, the inner trauma or narratives that I told myself when I was younger. And we're just reminding and remembering that we're all human beings, a work in progress.
So you've had that experience and you're working on your site, your platform. And if you were to run into somebody who was struggling, what might you do in that scenario?
Just be with them in the moment, listen to them. I know that advice is different and personalized to everybody, but taking it day by day and knowing that every day will get better.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. I'm really glad to have bumped into you, and I'm going to keep watching your Instagram feed and being inspired. And on our show, we ask every guest the same question in the context where we all have areas of wellness that are important to us, but not enough time to focus on all of them at any given time. It's essentially a mini wellness check-in. So Nicole, are you currently neglecting an area of wellness in your life? And if so, can you think of even one thing you could do to foster wellness in that area?
Very great question. I would just say exercising. It's something that I feel guilty for sometimes because work takes up a lot of time, study takes up a lot of time, and actually moving my body, exercising feels more like a chore than a task. I would really want to get more into exercising consistently, regularly, whether that's even 5 minutes a day. Small progress is still progress.
It's kind of a strange timing because I just recently injured my back. So in the last 6 weeks, 2 months, I've done a much better job not only running, which I like to do, but I've got back into doing dumbbell exercises and then also doing some core exercises. And I used to think like that too, that it was a chore. But now, once you get the base going and you're doing it on a regular basis, especially the strength training, I feel amazing. So then I definitely do it because I feel amazing. And right now I'm kind of whining and sad because for the last few days I haven't been able to do anything. And it's affected my mental health. It's affected the way I feel. Yeah. So a huge message on our show is that physical wellness is essential. And so if you can start working on that, I would bet that you're going to start to feel amazing. And instead of being a chore, you'll be like, oh, I want to do this. So good luck with that.
I hope so. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much, Nicole. It was great to talk to you, and I hope we can have some more conversations in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, John.
I'm Cameron, and welcome to another installment of The Adventures of the Starving Artist. So I was playing this gig with a band called the Vanduras, and it was actually our debut performing some of the Shania Twain stuff. It was a good gig, and it went off all right, but I want to tell you not about the show itself so much as part of leading up to the show and what came out of it that I took with me. So leading up to the show, it's important to know that we had some interesting issues with different members of the band. The first thing, they're both named Alex, which is totally fine, that's not an issue. The first Alex was ferociously unwell. lost a bunch of weight, a couple visits to the hospital, was really, really sick. And as he kicked that illness, the other Alex, the bass player, slipped while walking his dog, slipped on the ice because, Canadian winter, and busted up his shoulder. So he was out of commission on a bass proper for a while. But we had worked around those problems. Alex, the drummer, was healthy enough to get back at it. And Alex, the bass player, was using a keyboard and one hand to play his parts. And we were making it work, fully planning to go through our first show with this setup. So we get through a couple rehearsals in different places. Things are good. We're feeling well enough that with the tunes that we're ready to try it. And we head to the venue. So we meet up there, and on my way there, I was getting a bunch of messages, and as it happens, Alex, bassist, who had worked beyond the injury and was using the keyboard, took another spill. Not a fall so much, but he managed to pick up whatever mystery illness that drummer Alex had, and had a fever, and it was just getting worse throughout the day. So as I pull up, I hear that our bassist has to dip. He's not going to make the show. And so I'm thinking, how are we going to do this? Like, I can kind of play the bass part on the keyboard, but you might remember that I'm also playing the violin parts. So I would be doing triple duty, which, it can be done, but to do it cold, not necessarily the best move. So, I put my hat in the ring. I'm able to do this if we need to, but it was okay because Scotty stepped up. So our buddy Scotty is a multi-instrumentalist, great player, really cool guy, and it was going to be my first time playing with him, so that was cool with me. So Scotty jumps in. He had listened to the tunes a couple of times, but had never played them with us, and we were kind of running through any of the weird spots. Some of the songs have specific hits and stops, different key changes and stuff. So we were just kind of going through the trouble zones with the road maps with Scott, and we were feeling good about it, and it was about time for us to play. Now, every band is a little different. Every person's different, too. But the way this one worked out, they have a little ritual where right before their first set, they do a shot. One of them does a shot of cranberry juice, and the rest of them do tequila. Now, I don't really do tequila, so I had a whiskey shot. But we get everything poured, and we raise our little shot glasses up. And before we can do it, Scott, our substitute, says, "All right, boys, I want heads-up hockey tonight. Really good heads-up hockey." And I had never heard that before. If you play music or sports, you may have had your bandmate or your teacher or your conductor or your coach, whatever the case may be, yell at you to get your head up while you're playing. It's important in important in soccer, important in hockey and basketball. You got to look where you're going to pass, all that stuff. Same thing in music. To heads up play or playing heads up means your eyes are up and you're communicating with the other musicians on stage. And it's super important at all times, but especially in a situation like this, where it was sort of a last-minute sub, and he was going into these songs cold. So I had never heard it with that Canadian twist, which is odd, being that I am Canadian, and I like hockey, and I like music. So I took that phrase with me. I've been teaching it to students, and it's really fun. Heads-up hockey. So we played some heads-up hockey, and we got through the set, both sets without much of a hitch, and it was pretty rad. So Scott, thanks for jumping in on that substitute. Alex, now that your arm is feeling better, we'll see you back in action shortly, and now that you're feeling healthy. And other Alex, we're glad you're back in it, so this is all good. That's all from me this week. I hope you get a chance to play some heads-up hockey in whatever rink yours happens to be. Thanks very much for listening. I'm Cameron. This is The Starving Artist. Until next time.
We love our listeners and thanks for joining us. Please help spread the word about Let's Be Well Together podcast. Follow us and rate us on Spotify, Apple, Google, or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram at lets.be.well.together and let your friends know about us.
Move that body like we're meant to do.
Well, it's winter time, Elise. So I've decided that I'm going to try and find an activity that I haven't done before. Not that I haven't done before, but I don't do very often. And I'm going to try and make it my regular activity once a week.
Idea.
Yeah, I'm going to try and enjoy winter a little bit more.
Because I do find that with the cold, you kind of get like, kind of miserable. So I have taken up skating.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a few outdoor arenas here, or outdoor skating rinks here in the Kitchener-Waterloo area. And the one downtown Kitchener, it is well kept. It has a Zamboni that makes it nice and smooth, and it's also keeps it frozen. So it's a nice rink that you can go to anytime. You can use it any time of the day. Whereas the normal arenas, it's scheduled free skate where, you have to go at a certain time. So I really like the fact that I can go whenever I want. I've found that it's not too busy during the day. So I've enjoyed that as well. And I'm horrible. I'm horrible.
Oh, that's me too.
Yeah. Like I'm not a good skater. And that's probably one of the reasons why I haven't skated very much in my life. My kids, my two boys anyways, are excellent skaters. They both played hockey and love to skate, but it's something that I never enjoyed. I have wide feet and my feet really ached. It hurt a lot. And so now I've got proper skates that will help.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to skate for too long. I'm going to skate until I want to skate. You know what I mean? So if first time I skated for about 15 minutes, the next time about 20 minutes, like slowly, maybe I'll get to an hour where I'm skating and also skating a little faster. So I feel like I'm exerting myself a little bit more, but I'm just going at my own pace. Right. So that's what I'm doing outside. You got anything that you're doing in the winter?
I'm going to try to walk more outside in the winter. I love to go for walks in the fall, in the summer, in the spring, but winter, I look outside and I'm like, no, thank you.
I know. Sometimes it can be really dangerous out there.
It can be. And I'm really fortunate because where I live, Owen Sound, we have public sidewalk cleaners. So like they clean the road, the city organizes sidewalk cleaning as well. So I live on a street with a very well-traveled sidewalk. We have a lot of people who walk their dogs right down our street. We have a lot of foot traffic. So we're really lucky to have that service done for us. So I'm really hoping to take advantage of that more.
Yeah, because just being outside and like the fresh air and the coldness and seeing your breath, and as long as you're dressed properly,
yes,
it is amazing to be outside in the winter. So I am really enjoying that. Have you ever tried snowshoeing?
No, I haven't. I know it's actually something we have available at my school for my students to do.
Oh, cool.
And a lot of the teachers take the kids out snowshoeing. It's just something I haven't really been interested in exploring with kindergartners because you're doing up 20 snowshoes.
Yes, I can totally understand that. Yes.
Very hard on your hands.
Yeah. And it's hard enough to get them bundled up, on the best of times, right? Because they've got all their stuff, but to actually put snowshoes on them, that's intense.
It just turns into you buckling up 20 snowshoes.
Yes.
So I haven't tried it yet, but maybe I should try it myself at a time where I have to go outside and see how it is because people really love it.
Yes. People really love to snowshoe as well as cross-country skiing. That's another one that people really love to do. And you're kind of in the area that you probably could enjoy that more than us here, but we do have some nice cross-country ski areas here too. So that's something maybe I'll try. I have really enjoyed downhill skiing, and I do think that I will get more into that in the future once I have a little more free time because it's expensive, like to get a membership or just to go out skiing. So I really want to commit to it if I'm going to do, downhill skiing, get my stuff, and then do it like a lot, right? It's kind of like when you get one of those memberships, you got to go every day type of thing. Yeah.
And you also have to be available when the weather's good.
Yes.
So you kind of have to be flexible in when you can go because you have to be able to get there when there's nice snow.
Right. So you need just a little more time. Maybe you're retired or part-time or, your kids are older, whatever it is that you need a little bit more time. But yeah, skiing, I've really enjoyed it. And I think I would like to cross-country ski. I've only done it once in my life. So
yeah, I've never tried it. And I know I have a few coworkers who belong to a local club and they love doing it. I also have some coworkers who often go downhill skiing after work, which I'm always so surprised because I'm like, it's exhausting. The day is exhausting. And then you're going to go and it's dark and you're skiing, but they absolutely love it and say the winter, it just really makes the winter more enjoyable when you have activities to look forward to.
Yes, because the other thing that I find is it helps you sleep, right? When you're outside for a little bit, if you do have an hour where you're outside, that fresh air, it does exhaust you enough to really make your sleep deep. So that's really great. And I'm sure when they go after school, they're not there for like hours. They just go for an hour or two,
just
right?
a few. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So those are all great activities that we need to get out and enjoy the winter when we can.
Let's do it.
There's a thought. Popped up while running. I'm guessing the thought came to me from when I read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I'm pretty sure this was something that Robert Pirsig talked about in his book. I was thinking about how when you're doing something you really love, especially if it's a hobby type thing, but for some people it could be their profession too. When you're in the midst of that and you're also have a quiet mind and a quiet body, how you really feel at peace. It's a way to really get that at peace feeling to another level. And I think what he was saying in his book I was thinking about was that if there's something you really love to do and the calling comes from within especially, so you're not doing this for anyone else, you're not trying to create something so you get applause or praise, but there's just something you love to do. And within that, there's a whole bunch of little technical skills you need to do it right. You can imagine that for a painter, musician, whoever it might be. And what's the expression? It's like a labor of love. Learning how to do all those little things and practicing them. And then that time where you've got them under your belt and you are good at them, and now it's time to express that thing that you do, whether it's fixing things or building things or creating things. Sure, you can get peace of mind by quietening your mind in whatever mindfulness exercise you can, and maybe quietening your body. And then add to that, doing this thing that you love for its own sake, and knowing that you're building something or making something or doing your work with quality. It really takes that peace of mind feeling to a different level. It's me. Am I?
Yeah. Just let me say, flip side of the coin.
Sheila and I do like to have a show to watch. So we have busy lives, busy days. And then after supper and after we do what we need to do, it's nice to watch a show.
Yeah. We like to sit and relax and watch a show that we both like.
But now that we've had COVID and all that other stuff, we've kind of run through so many of the shows, and we're not that great at listening to the grapevine and what's out there.
Yeah.
So we poke and prod. But so recently I saw, hey, what's this White Lotus thing? I heard it's pretty good. And so why don't we give it a try? Anyway, we just watched both seasons of White Lotus, and we basically sat there watching with dumbfounded looks on our face for the whole time. It was so different than anything I've ever seen. I couldn't predict anything.
No, you couldn't predict anything. And it was really interesting the way that it started. Like the very first scene is the last scene, basically.
In both seasons. So it's obviously the way that they want to project it, that this is what happens. And then a week later, they start the retreat, because the White Lotus is a hotel, very rich hotel that people go to. Yeah, in different locations. The first season was Hawaii and the second season was in Sicily. And let's not spoil things for people.
No.
Let's try not to do that. But I'll tell you one thing. I did not figure it out. I was surprised at the end both times.
Me too. I was so surprised. And you worry because you're like, oh no, what, like, is this going to happen? Is that, oh no. But the thing that I wanted to talk about on here, because this is flip side, was at least in the second season for sure, relationships and how they can go awry. And you know how people say, one, you just keep digging your hole, digging your hole, digging your hole. I feel like all these relationships were digging. It's like, communicate, people, or tell them what you're thinking, or be a better human, or something.
In a way, I mean, for sure, there were ones that are like, why aren't you guys just telling each other what you think? Like Sheila and I are very good at telling each other what we think. Probably too good. Sometimes maybe we shouldn't. But, at least one couple, they just weren't talking to each other. But meanwhile, now that you mention it, one of the couples was just kind of happy-go-lucky on the face of it, and, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil.
Yeah.
And they kind of knew bad stuff was happening on the other side, and they're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. They were like, I'm
So
just not going to think about it.
Let's not use them as a good
I'm just
example.
I'm just going to live in the moment, and I'm going to do my bad things. You
Get my
do
little
your-
revenge here and there.
If I think you're doing something bad, I'll do something revengeful and like ridiculous amount of money. So the things that they did for revenge were ridiculous.
That's one thing I noticed about this show. It was just so opulent. Like everyone had just had, like, money means nothing to these people.
Absolutely nothing.
And you're like,
Never even talked about it.
how do, it's just so strange.
Yeah, like, because when you're on a holiday, even though it's an all-inclusive, there's this add-on and that add-on, and these weren't all-inclusives. In Hawaii, they don't have all-inclusives.
So what are some of the relationship things you wanted to talk about?
Well, communication.
Yeah, for sure.
That was the one. That was the main one.
I should say, though, in the first one of the couples, there was a guy, he talked way too much. Like, he was somebody who really should have kept some of his thoughts to himself. He would tell things to his kids and to his wife, and it's just like, hey, man, that's not appropriate.
See, isn't that interesting, right? Like,
So you want communication to a level.
Yeah. You want a communication, but also the thing that bothered me with that one that you're talking about, the father communicated things to his son that as a couple, the married couple, agreed that they would not tell their kids about. So in that case, it's like, listen, if you make a deal with your spouse, that's the deal. And you can't go back on it with your kids. You can't take it back.
And the relationship side to that, to me, is if you have a relationship and you've decided on how to run your relationship in a way, then don't just think about yourself sometime when doing something contrary to that would help you, but not the relationship. Well, think about the relationship.
Yeah. And of course, communicate to your spouse. Hey, I'd like to talk to my spouse. I'd like to talk to my kid about this, but we had this agreement. So talk to each other about it before you do things like that. So basically,
I think I distracted most of this and we're almost out of time. Do you want to run through some of the?
No. We can run through that another time. But the main thing I had to say about White Lotus was communication. Right. Relationship, communication, breakdown.
It was so hard to watch too, because you're like, and that's what I liked about this show. Now,
me too.
I'm not sure that that's a good thing, but it made me intellectually uncomfortable a lot.
Yes.
Right. And it's like, and I don't usually get that from shows.
Yes, it made me frustrated, but not just intellectually, mentally. Emotionally, relationship wise, cringing about things that were going on. So really kind of cool.
Yeah,
right?
really, really well done show, and really makes you think and feel.
Mm-hmm.
Please remember that we're not providing advice. We hope to inspire you to work towards balance, and we urge you to consult with qualified people if you need advice. The people on the show are speaking in their personal capacities. Their views expressed are their own and don't represent the views or opinions of their outside contacts, their employers, or anyone else. We try to get things right, but we can't guarantee everything we say is correct or that the things we talk about will work for you. Let's be well together, and let's be sure to do that in a safe way.
It's sign-off time. It's Elise here with John and Sheila.
Hello.
Hello.
I had a lovely week this past week. It was really beautiful weather, and I managed to walk home a few times from work. I also was able to go to the pottery studio. It's been a while since I've been there. And I did a boot camp class on Saturday. So it was 10 to 3. And the idea was it was for people who are familiar with throwing on the wheel. And we were just going to keep one piece. So we had a whole bucket full of clay, each person. And you were just kind of throwing and playing with different shapes. And the teacher was coming around to each of us to kind of give us corrections. And then you just kind of would see how it helped your throwing skills. Mm-hmm. And then you just kept your best piece, which was a lot of fun because there wasn't so much focus on how many items did I make and how do they look and what's the end result going to be. It was more about the process of building with the clay, which was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
And then this week is March break. So that means I'm off work this week, which is fortunate because I have a bit of a cold.
Ooh.
So I'm ready to rest and relax. I have a few appointments to catch up on, and I'm going to do lots of reading.
Okay.
How about you, Sheila?
That sounds exciting. Well, I agree. It was a beautiful week last week, and I got my bike out. So
nice.
I biked to work every day. So that was awesome. I was really happy about that and got my workouts in. I taught some dance this week, and we had a baby shower to go to. And then a birthday party to go to. So we had a lot of social events this week. So that was wonderful. And coming up, I'm actually getting excited because I'm going to Quebec City. So we're leaving on Thursday and coming back, and we'll let you know how that goes. Hopefully We'll have a great drive and beautiful weather, and we'll have a wonderful time. What about you, John?
I was worried this week because last week, as I said, I had a back injury. So the big thing for me this week was I going to be able to get a 10-kilometer run in before Sunday? It really hurt last Saturday after I ran, and then Sunday. Monday it still hurt, and then Tuesday it actually started to feel pretty good. So I'm like, okay, this is good. Then I woke up Wednesday and it was bad again. So then I'm thinking, we're running out of time here. I did notice though that when I took ibuprofen, it felt a little better. So that made me think maybe it's inflammation. So then I did take ibuprofen, not like the whole time, but somewhat during the rest of the week. And sure enough, Friday was feeling better. Saturday, I woke up and I really didn't feel much. I felt a little, and I got my 10-kilometer run in, so I'm so happy. But this week will always be known henceforth for me as the week I learned a tango.
Yes.
I learned the basic tango step. And I don't know, there's just something cool about knowing the tango step, even though it's going to take a long time to make it look good. It's just a really cool dance move. So
really awesome. Yeah,
the week of the tango.
We're enjoying our dance classes, learning lots and getting used to dancing with each other. So that's a lot of fun.
The best part is the first thing we learned was the foxtrot and the waltz. And in the we're now in about our 5th or 6th week. And in the first week, I could do it, but it always felt like step, step, step. And now we've got the foxtrot down pretty good. It's very smooth. It just feels like, I can listen to the music. I can feel the beat. Sheila's spinning all over like she always does. A lot of fun. Okay, so we hope you guys enjoyed the show. It was great to have Nicole sung on. Hope you enjoyed that interview and hope we can collaborate with her again in the future. And we hope to see you next week. Bye for now.
That is it for today's show. Please try and make wellness a priority.
You deserve it.
If you feel the need to talk to someone or ask for help, please do that.
Accept yourself for the person you are.
So long.
Adieu.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.